Hi, everybody. This is Dan Stolbarger. Welcome to our KFIR Middle East update. It is the week of January 9th, and we'll look back upon the events of last week, what's transpired in the Middle East, specifically Israel. And just a reminder that this YouTube has a PDF PowerPoint that accompanies it, and you can get that on your YouTube site page. There should just be a link there, or you can go to our home website at holygroundexplorations.com. Again, looking back over the last week, but first, a personal note. I normally don't do this, but I feel like I want to begin this podcast with giving you a glimpse of at least the things that I'm experiencing, and maybe you can identify with that. It seems that I've been somewhat in a deep funk for quite some time now, and I haven't been able to really shake loose. I hate it when people are saying, "How are you doing?" I think all the why God whys and the bring them home now images of the abductees have been daunting and haunting in my life. However, this morning I read from my friend Michael Utterbach's MTI Ministry to Israel newsletter. I read his article and I got some new perspective. He spoke of his deep sorrow, which I could identify with, his deep sorrow over the events that's transpired since October 7th, and he felt that God has been allowing him to share in just a small portion, obviously microscopic portion, of the sorrow that God has, God's sorrow. I have come to believe that sometimes grief is acceptable, and too often we try to cut it short. And Michael reminds us in that article that Jesus was despised, rejected of men. He was a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. I believe that godly sorrow is when the Holy Spirit places a sadness upon your heart and spirit and simply tells you that something just is not right. So instead of trying to find a quick fix and a way out of this funk, that I'm choosing now to embrace my sorrow, embrace my grief, and seek God now for action steps, what to do about these things. Now, prayer request, towards the end of February, Sharon and I are heading to Israel. Simply just to be and to seek the Lord's guidance for the what's next, the what can we actually do scenario for Holy Ground. So please keep us in your prayers. So now the news bites for this week. A lot going on. Joe Biden is making it crystal clear he wants Israel to stop the operation in Gaza. Israel, at this point in time, is refusing. We are experiencing right now, and for however long this is going to go on, a direct confrontation. Biden was heckled in a speech at a church on Sunday, and he didn't stop the crowd from chanting, "End the genocide now," or whatever it may be. And he said, his words, "I'm doing everything I can. I understand your passion, and I'm trying to get Israel out of Gaza." Interestingly enough, a polling record, shares that the United States public, this is the Gallup poll, by the way, that was conducted between December 1st and the 20th, but this poll basically found that the United States public thinks that the United States government is not doing enough to support Israel. But with everything that's hanging over Biden's head, elections, the left, etc., there's movement. As you know, Blinken is here, in Israel right now, not just to deal with the issue of the northern borders, but no doubt to pressure Israel to end the war. So, and what's going on in the north, just so you know, instead of blaming Hamas and Hezbollah for dragging Lebanon into another war, the Lebanese government is rushing to accuse Israel of killing a Hamas fugitive and violating Lebanese airspace to attack Syria. So this is not, again, the next article, we'll probably get into this. This is not a matter of if, it's a matter of when there is an all-out confrontation with Hezbollah in the north. And then a sad note, you never know what to believe with Hamas because of the psychological warfare of them messing with the minds of those that are praying for the release of the captives. But a hostage, Israeli hostage, has testified and witnessed that Hamas terrorists were telling Yarden Bibas that his wife and his children, Ariel and KFIR, were dead. Now, there's no way of knowing the truth in all of this at this particular time, but that's what's being reported. So as I mentioned, not if, it's when. Over the weekend, Wissam Tawil, a senior member of the Hezbollah's Radan force, was killed, assassinated by Israel, a drone strike in southern Lebanon. He was the highest ranking Hezbollah member to be killed since Hezbollah has joined in this confrontation. And Israel is expecting serious responses from Hezbollah. Already 40 rockets have been launched in the direction of Mount Meron, but there still is an expectation that more is coming. And the Israeli government is basically now saying it is not if there will be a war with Hezbollah, but when. And so any war with Hezbollah will make the Gaza conflict seem very small in comparison. So again, a regional war, not something Biden wants. He's going to try his best to get this sidestepped in some way. But the bottom line is that you're seeing Russia, China, North Korea in giving their weapons to Hamas. And so the issues are basically, despite the intensity and the political, or the potential, I should say, mass destruction in this coming conflict, Israel must win. And it's the only way that this whole mess will be, in years to come, put back together. Israel must win. And it seems the only way to do that is to strike so hard and fast that their enemies, whether it's Hamas or Hezbollah, will never be able to recover. So now we have an article with Biden, Bibi, and Hezbollah. Joe Biden has directed his top aides, we know they're here right now, are in Israel, to the Middle East to prevent a full-scale war between Israel and the Lebanese-based Hezbollah. This was reported by the Washington Post. And again, we've already gone over this, but the report comes as officials are now meeting in Tel Aviv with Bibi Netanyahu. They're meeting with Gallant, the defense minister, with Benny Gantz. And so pressure is being ratcheted up at this particular time. And with all that being said, the response from Netanyahu is crystal clear. He is pledging that the IDF will continue war in Gaza until Hamas is completely eliminated and all Israelis are returned. His words, quote, "I have a clear message for our enemies. What happened on October 7th will never happen again. We will not stop until complete victory." So that's the scenario of this week. There was an article that was put out that I thought was noteworthy that I'll include here on nuclear Iran, the year 2024. The headline says 2024, the year Iran will go nuclear if Western powers do not act. So, 3 points. If the U.S. fails to remove Iran's nuclear capability, and not just allow them to buy time to enable it, the catastrophes that follow will surely go down as into Biden's legacy, as well as the legacy of those around him. Iran has substantially increased its production, its rate of uranium, which after tripling its output in the past few weeks is now nearing weapons-grade levels, according to a recent report from the International Atomic Energy Agency. And finally, from the Iranian regime's perspective, the failure of Western powers to counter its nuclear program serves as the most explicit endorsement one can provide that it should continue developing its nuclear weapons without any fear of any kind of negative consequences. And so, as we flip the script and we talk about Hamas in Gaza and the West Bank, and when we talk about Hezbollah in the north, Lebanese border, Golan Heights, as we sort of wrap around and see the Yemenites or the Houthis down there that are causing all the mess in the Red Sea, the reality is combine all of those together and it doesn't equal the threat of Iran using a nuclear weapon. So that's the day in which we live. Again, back to my original statements in the beginning is that the question is, how do we get out of this funk or whatever it may be? No, it's to embrace the sorrow, embrace the grace, the grief, and realize that God may have something that we're actually supposed to be doing. Now, I do not ever want to minimize prayer. So please commit to praying for all that we've talked about in the Middle East. And then on the flip side of prayer is the action step. What can we do? So I'll leave you with that. God bless you. Shalom.